Hey there, I figured I'd come out with one more video before the league starts. This one's going to be all about the map progression system, clearing your atlas in a most timely and efficient manner, the right way, if you will. Is there a right way to do it? You know, I guess technically not. You can play the game however you'd like, but I know there's a lot of you out there who are planning to hit the ground running, and in this very first day of the league, it's critical time, and I know you want to get through the atlas as fast as possible. This is a topic that gets discussed a little bit, but I really don't see that many videos on it, especially since it did get a lot easier to do after the major atlas overhaul in 3.17. But it's definitely a topic that deserves some discussion. We can always get a little better, a little bit more efficient at it, and we have a whole bunch of tools at our disposal now, which you know, some of which you're probably aware of, but maybe you're not exactly sure how you would strategize and put everything together. That's what I want to do for you today. I recently had the opportunity to do the atlas again in the Delirium Everywhere event. Yes, I actually unlocked the entire map atlas in the Delirium Everywhere event. It wasn't easy, but this is all very fresh in my mind, so I think it's a great topic for me to come with you today. Let me start off by painting a little picture for you, a very grim picture, unfortunately. Let's imagine you're, I don't know, progressing through your map somewhere in high yellow maps, maybe tier 9, let's say, you know, red tier maps right around the corner, right? But you get to tier 9 and you've had a bad streak of luck. You haven't really seen many maps drop lately, and you know this is kind of, you're in kind of a boom or bust moment here. Either you're going to find a map in here or you're going to be set back pretty hard. And wouldn't you know it, you clear that map. Maybe it takes you a couple portals. It's a rough map. But you do clear it all, you get everything done, not a single map drops in there, no more progress, and you turn around and you're like, all right, Kirik, what do you got for me? You go to your master mission table and whoop, empty. No master missions left. And you go to the vendor, well, of course, that's empty too. Then you go back to your map tab, and much to your dismay, you see that the highest tier map you have left is like a tier 6 that you've already ran 2 or 3 times before. And so what are you going to do? You're going to go to trade, and you're going to go purchase a map. You don't even have the chaos to do that, maybe. And maybe you don't even have alchemy orbs to turn it rare either. That, my friends, is basically rock bottom. So at the very least, we want to avoid that. But I would like to set some loftier goals for you today. I don't want you to ever have to buy a single map again. At any point through the map progression process. And you know what? I'm even going to set the loftiest goal here, one that I'm not sure I can hit. And that is, I would like you to not only not have to purchase the map again, also not have to purchase any map materials, as well as not even have to run a single map more than once. Can you imagine that? That's basically that would be a flawless map start. Or flawless league start, I guess, in the map progression process. Now again, I'm not sure if I can do that very last goal, but I'm going to try this time. Let me know if you succeed at that. I really want to know if there's anybody out there who actually does succeed at that. Don't run a single map more than once and never have to purchase anything off there. So there's a lot of tools at our disposal here. There's definitely some various league start strategies to the Atlas passives. I want to share some of my insight on that for you. From my account, there's basically 4 major tools that we have at our disposal to help keep us from having to do any of those things that I mentioned in the lofty goals. First off, we got the Kirik Master Missions, of course. And then B, we have scouting reports that can help reset those master missions. Those also drop fairly early on in maps. And then next up, we have the Kirik Vendor, of course. And so that 3 of the 4 have everything to do with Kirik. And then the 4th one would be things like orbs of horizon, basically. Maybe harbinger orbs to a lesser extent. I don't typically see very many of those. But yeah, imagine that. You know, that's a lot of different tools we have. So if you're not aware, of course, the Kirik Master Missions right here. It qualifies for white, yellow, red. This is my standard character. I guess I just happen to have 6 white, 8 yellow, 5 red. Obviously, I'm not playing much in standard to see that's all I have. And then we have scouting reports right here. Things like the 3 major ones we're going to talk about is Explorers, Singular, and Val scouting reports. Hello. Then we have the Kirik in his vendor that also offers maps. You would press the Alt key to see if you got any thing available that you haven't already cleared. Purchase that. And then, of course, we have primarily the one you'll see. Orbs of Horizon, reforge a map item as another of the same tier. So, as you're progressing the map, you want to be very mindful about how you use these different tools, because you do not have an unlimited supply of any of them, actually. Every single one of them, you have a very limited supply. So, right off the bat, the general rule is that don't use those tools unless you absolutely have to. One of the biggest pieces of information I can give you is that I don't use any of those tools until I've run out of maps to progress with. Until my map tab is completely empty with maps that I've already ran. Then and only then will I go in here and I start looking. And the first thing I will do, the very first thing I do, is check out the vendor. Check out the vendor. You want to do the vendor first because the vendor resets automatically whenever you run a master mission. So you don't ever want to run a master mission without pulling whatever maps that exist in the vendor tab here first, because this whole screen is going to reset the second you run a master mission. Just like vendors reset whenever you level up, the Keurig vendor resets whenever you run a master mission, not whenever you level up. Not to be confused with that. So you pull out the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pull out all of the maps that you haven't done. You're going to run those, and you're going to find more maps. You're going to progress more maps, more. And then the list, next time the list resets, it'll have higher maps in general speaking. But of course, you're going to run out of maps to progress that way. And that is when, you have your other options. You got the Orb of Horizon. You got the Keurig Master Mission. You got the scouting reports. Of course, you're not going to just blow scouting reports randomly. You're going to check the next thing I suggest. Again, this would be in white or yellow maps, potentially. You're going to check the Keurig Master Mission, for which you only have a few, by the way. I only ever got like 5 of each, maybe, in my process of leveling, and I did it all in one day. I didn't even get 5 of the white maps. I got through that pretty quick. I think I had like 3 white maps, 5 yellow, and then I was into reds after that. So, again, very limited supply. All right, so you're going to do whatever map there is at essentially the highest tier map that Keurig offers on this list, okay? Because there's probably going to be I feel like there's some sort of smart system in here where it usually pulls up maps you've already done. But you're going to do that, and you're going to run a map. I virtually guarantee there's going to be at least one map in here you haven't done. You run it. The main reason you're doing this map is not even to keep progressing stuff. It's actually to reset the vendor, because the vendor turns out to be a huge source of maps. But there's one major disadvantage to the vendor. These things cost currency. Look, chance orbs for white maps, chance orbs. If it rolls magical rare, it's even more chance orbs. And then for, well, I guess tier 7 here, yellow maps, we got alchemy orbs. Alchemy orbs you already have to use just to make them rare, or orbs of binding. So let that be a lesson to you. One huge lesson, one big takeaway. One of the biggest takeaways I'm taking from Delirium, my Delirium Everywhere experience to now, is I am not going to use alchemy orbs lightly. I think at one point I did some craft in Delirium Everywhere before I even reached maps, and I started alching and scouring something, and then it was just like this moment when I got to, a couple hours later, I got to buying maps. Like, I don't have any alchemy orbs. Oh my god. Why did I blow them all on a craft earlier? Don't use your alchemy orb. Save them, whatever you can. Now, red maps are going to start costing chaos orbs. And oh my god, look at this. 4, 4, 6, 5, 8, 10. That's a lot of chaos orbs, right? Doesn't matter. Red maps, you're going to be making a bunch of currency anyway. You got the chaos recipe. You know what's funny? You'll probably have more chaos orbs than you will alchemy orbs at a certain point. It's pretty funny. The market at a very critical moment, like, I don't know, 20 hours into the league, chaos orbs and alchemy orbs will basically be worth the same thing. It's a very sort of peculiar time in the league start process. Same thing sort of happens with chance orbs. Chance orbs become worth, suddenly, very early on in the first day, they're worth a lot. It's because people need those currencies to purchase them from the vendors. So don't blow these currencies. Do not blow orbs of chance or alchemy. Don't sell them for chaos orbs early on. You need them for this process. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck buying maps and stuck in a hole in the process. So you run all the vendor maps. You're going to progress a lot of your atlas, because there's going to be 3, 4, 5 different maps you can buy from the Keurig vendor at a time. Okay, and then you do all that, and then basically, what do? You go back to the Keurig Master Mission, of course. And, occasionally, This usually doesn't happen until red maps, but occasionally you're not really going to see any maps that have any use whatsoever. In the event that you're not able to progress through your map without having to run the same map twice or without having to trade anything, and you're stuck at that moment, you should have a few scouting reports ready, at least the Explorer scouting reports, and you should have at least a few Keurig Master missions ready. So that's when you're going to blow a scouting report. And again, this usually doesn't even happen until red maps, probably. You might hit something funny like, influence map. Don't worry about those. One of the biggest things you're looking for is unique maps, because they will occasionally show up. Anytime you see a unique map, run that. You should run that. Almost no matter what. Unless it's like a really hard unique map and it spawns T16 and you're not even to like high tier red maps yet, because that can happen. But aside from that, definitely want to run that. Okay, a unique map. Otherwise, run basically whatever the highest tier map that you can and the highest tier Keurig Master mission is. One word of advice though, try not to blow through the entire tab of white, yellow, and red. And the reason you don't want to do that is because very late in the map progression process, the main maps that you're going to have to complete yet are the unique maps. They're hard to find. Here's how you do those without having to buy them. You save, first of all, you save the singular scouting reports. You use these, boom, Coward's Trial, boom, the Twilight Temple, Coward's Trial again. Of course, I would run the Coward's Trial. Run the rarest and or the most expensive one, which actually is the Coward's Trial. If you hit that, you definitely want to run that. By the way, don't worry about any of it says complete the harvest, open the smuggler stack. Don't worry about that stuff. You can be picky on that if you have the choice between two maps you haven't done. But again, the goal is not to go for the rewards here. The goal is to unlock the map in the atlas. So you can't. So once you start unlocking these maps, the Keurig crafting stuff is really nice because it'll just throw you a bone out in the middle of nowhere. It'll unlock this map, and then you have a whole bunch of different variety of maps there, adjacent maps you can unlock. Remember, you cannot naturally find a different map that you haven't done unless it's connected adjacently to there. So this is why the Keurig, the route of the Keurig vendor and the Keurig Master missions is so critical in the process of unlocking your atlas, because it disobeys that rule. Like, if let's say I'm up here in Chateau, but Keurig randomly gives me Arachnid Nest map, but I don't have anything even close to that unlocked. That gives you so much quality of life later on as you begin to connect things around that. And so that is how nowadays we really are able to unlock the entire atlas without having to purchase any maps from trade. The major last thing to check is Orbs of Horizon. Now, Orbs of Horizon are a precious currency, and I definitely don't recommend just blowing these anytime you want. But one very, very smart time to use them is whenever, especially in a situation where you have the highest tier map you've done, but you drop the same map twice. So, I don't know, let's see what that might look like. Let's say I'm on tier 8, okay? And let's say I've done an ancient city map, but I haven't done any of the other ones. And I have another ancient city map. Okay, that's obviously the best time possible to use Orb of Horizon, because I'm guaranteed to naturally give me any one of these other maps that I haven't done. So whenever there's a bunch of maps that you haven't done on a particular tier, that's a good time to use the Orb of Horizon. Don't be blowing Orbs of Horizon whenever you've done all but one. Unless it's like the last map that you have to unlock the atlas and you got a bunch of Orbs of Horizon to blow. Maybe then. I really don't recommend using Orbs of Horizon to do white or yellow at all. I definitely because it gets harder progressively, because the map tiers tend to drop lower, right? So as you get higher into reds, you tend to keep dropping whites and yellows anyway. So that is when you really want to have that stockpile of Orbs of Horizon available to you. By the way, Orbs of Horizon, as well as Alchemy Orbs, as well as Chaos Orbs, and Orbs of Binding, have a very target farmable approach to them. So, in my opinion, arguably, the best League mechanic you can do as you're unlocking your Atlas passive is Harbinger. Harbinger, you get a free one every map. And you know what's very special about this League? You get 3 every map later on in the higher tier red maps. You should have no problem self-sustaining the materials necessary to unlock the Atlas, as well as the maps themselves. Harbinger is one of the best sources of raw map drop, by the way, because they spawn tons and tons of magic and rare monsters. Magic, rare, and unique monsters are the only kind of monsters that can drop a map at all. And map drops are not subject to magic find stats either. They are subject to the map's inherent quantity and rarity, but not your own stats. You don't have to worry about wearing magic find for maps or whatever. Basically, you're just trying to push, increase number of monsters into the map. Although I do not recommend alching your white maps. You're going to save the alchemy orbs. But, if you're farming Harbingers, you're going to get a bunch of orbs of binding, which you can use to turn your maps rare and therefore save the alchemy orbs for the Keurig vendor later on in the yellow map process. Still going to be getting a lot of chaos shards. They're going to turn to chaos orbs as well. You're going to be still doing some of the chaos recipe, so you have a lot of extra chaos orbs to buy red maps from the Keurig vendor. It's something a lot of people don't do. I think they get a little shy. They get a little bit shy at the idea of blowing, say, 6 chaos orbs to purchase a tier 12 red map that they haven't done. But really, that's what you should do if that's what it takes to cleanly and efficiently unlock your Atlas, because whatever kind of currency you're going to make in high tier red maps, it's your end game farm. Again, if you're one of these people who wants to hit the ground running, it's all about that in-game time, and then you're going to make way more currency at that in-game farm than you will along the way. For me, it's going to be Legion, Breach, and Essence. I've already decided. Those are the ones I want to do. But now I want to share with you some of the best, in my opinion, some of the best Atlas leveling trees that you can do where you're kind of progressing through the Atlas. So the moral of the story is, and you've probably heard this from other content creators, it's this way. This is kind of what you want to do ASAP. You want to get up here, you want to get 60% increased Atlas scouting reports found in your maps, and you want to get 3% chance for an additional Keurig mission, increased chance for additional... You're going to be killing map bosses right and left. You want those Keurig map missions. You even want them in the white and yellow tier maps, remember, because you want to have those for resetting them through the Explorers reports and the scouting reports to unlock all of the variety of different unique maps. Again, at the very end, it looks a lot like spamming scouting reports, checking each tab for whatever unique map you haven't done. That is the very last process of unlocking the map device without having to purchase any maps on trade. Now, another really, really good thing to do is to get these nodes here that have a 15% chance to drop as a tier higher. Maps can drop any tier at all unless you have watchstones already. And of course, you can unlock 2 of the watchstones while you're progressing through the Atlas, as long as you have at least a halfway decent bossing build. I'm doing Toxic Rain this league. It's a good all-arounder build, very capable of killing Eater of Worlds and Searing Exarch. And I will be unlocking those as they come online. By the way, I almost forgot. I don't want to forget to mention this. In my opinion, here's one big thing I got out of my Delirium Everywhere experience. Shaping of the Valleys is actually very good. It's very good to start blowing 3 chaos, even in yellow maps, on Shaping of the Valleys to increase your pack size, particularly as you're doing the Eldritch Influence. So there is a very precious time as you begin to unlock the Eldritch Influences for the very first time. You gain access to those influences below the typical benchmark tier 14 or higher. I think you start getting access to those in like tier 8 or something like that. Absolutely, you should be using what you can to increase the pack size. On those maps, I totally would be alching for sure. I mean, you have to alch them to unlock anyway. Probably wouldn't blow Val Orbs. Val Orbs are really precious. You're going to need those for red maps. But Shaping the Valleys, definitely. Definitely. If not that, then some other league mechanic that ties into what you're doing. Certain league mechanics are better than others, though. Things like Blight. Blight's not very good. It's very time consuming. You don't get very good rewards before you hit the higher tier red maps and before you unlock all the things. But there are certain league mechanics that do shine up pretty well. Essence is obviously available right away. It's a good money maker immediately early on. Even in white maps, the Essence quality of the Essences is pretty good. Essence only puts one rare monster on the map. However, you're not going to get that many extra maps from it. Strongbox is also decent. One of my favorite choices, although it doesn't really come online well until you hit Secret Operations. Tamper-proof does increase the number of maps that drop, definitely, once you get that, as well as things like Concealed Logistics and all the goodies up here. So the Strongbox, easy, it's 3 points. I still sometimes get it, but you're not going to see many maps coming from it in particular. Shrine is another big one. You really should get it. Just straight up increases your efficiency as a player, your player power in the maps. Once you get... Let's see where it is, right here. Drawn to power. Shrines in your maps are guarded by at least 1 magic pack. Magic monsters can drop a map. Very strong there. And then, everybody loves shrines anyway, certainly. And then Ominous Arrival, +1 Harbinger. I already talked about this Harbinger, the different kind of map currencies they drop. They drop tons of maps. Probably the single greatest Atlas progression league mechanic that you can do in maps, especially if you go all the way with this, and you can get all the way up to King Harbinger and everything fairly quickly. You know, you won't even be halfway through the Atlas progression. But all of this pales really in comparison to simply getting the nodes that increase the chance for the maps to be a higher tier, and to get the Keurig master missions right away. I also recommend coverts. On a side point, I recommend covert stakeouts to start unlocking your veiled modifiers in the crafting bench. Also getting some very high value rare rings in some cases you can find. Unlocking Elrond's Veil as well, it can be very important. Blocking different mechanics can be useful as well, especially if you're going for things like Strongbox and Shrines, which can inherently be boosted, and the chance they have this. Oh yeah, as well as Essence. The big nodes here are shaping the skies, shaping the mountains, shaping the valleys, shaping the seas. Okay, those are the big ones you want to hit very early on, as well as the Keurig bench. So, you know, a typical league start may look something like this. Let's say I wanted to go Essence. Okay, I want the free Essence. I'm going to get Covert Stakeouts. I'm going to go all the way up here. I'm going to hit this first. I'm going to get up to Shaping the Valleys. This means I'm well prepared for that moment when the Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch influences begin to unlock. I'm going to take those. I'm just going to start taking all the other stuff to get all the best map nodes. Let's say I want to do some Harbinger too. I'm going to go into Ominous Arrival. I'm going to unlock this one over here as well. Let's say I'm going to go down here and get this one next here. Let's say I'm prioritizing Essence for whatever reason. I want to get those pretty quickly. Let's see. Yep, I need this one too. All right, this is a really important one as well. So I might go up here. And so this would be an example of a kind of an Essence focused tree. And again, essences are very good early on in the league. They're still quite valuable. Of course, I want to get these points. They're really good. So that's what that might look like in the very, very beginning. Again, this is well before the Atlas is complete, totally complete. But again, any kind of combination, you know, you could get the strong boxes too and do this as well. It's not a bad choice. But any combination of strong box, essence, shrine, and harbingers really can't go wrong. With those, in fact, just actually literally getting all 4 of those as an Atlas progression strategy is probably the single best thing you can do. Of course, you're gonna have to pay a few extra orbs of unmaking in the end to do that. But I have not settled on exactly my strategy. I think mine is going to look something like this. Going to be mainly essence focused. But there you have it. That's basically all I got for you here. I think that I'm sure there was something you were able to take away from that video. I hope you're getting some much needed rest before the league starts. That's what I'm about to do as I release this video. And that's it. I'll see you guys on the other side. Good luck in your league start.